Hi, you're listening to Dusk to Dawn, reading horror and weird fiction. We're your hosts, Amber and Dan.
Follow us on Instagram at Dusk to Dawn Podcast. Please rate our show wherever you're listening, and let's get started. Welcome back to the podcast. We are nearing the end. We have 4 more books after this.
After this one? Yes.
4. So 5, including this episode, will end our season 2 run, yeah?
Yeah. Also, happy Cinco de Mayo.
Yes, this one.
The weirdest holiday that we celebrate because they don't really celebrate it in Mexico, but we do in the United States.
Yeah, well, also when we hit piñatas in the United States, at least as white people, there's like no cultural connection to it other than hitting a unicorn and getting candy.
But I think that's not true because why would we do it? You know,
I'm exaggerating I guess.
Especially coming from California, I definitely went to a lot of birthday parties that had piñatas. But I don't think they do that necessarily on the East Coast. You know, I think that it's coming from...
Yeah.
We don't do it for the same reasons, but I think also in Mexico.
What I mean is I knew growing up as a Mexican tradition, and we hit the piñata and got candy, but they're not like, just so you know, the piñata represents the 7 deadly sins.
Yeah, I mean,
it's
Christmas is also about Jesus.
It's like St. Patrick's Day. People are like, I know you drink, and I know there was a St. Patrick.
Well, and Easter is about Jesus being like reborn or coming back from the dead or whatever, and we just like dye eggs. And
also, maybe they kept telling us the whole history of the piñata, but as kids we were just like, shut up, just like let us get the candy.
You're like ravenous. Well, that even happens in the book, right? There's that little kid who's like all pissed off that they didn't break it and it's their party.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I feel that. Oh, it's so... Have you ever been the one to break the piñata?
Maybe.
Oh, it's so satisfying.
I know I have memories of some good hits that at least got some good tears. I don't remember if I've broken it or not. Maybe once.
Such a cool tradition.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
We should get the kiddo to do that. We did that once at a birthday party.
Also, they didn't tell me when they're blindfolding me that symbolized blind faith in God. They didn't say that.
Oh, yeah.
So
I thought it was just to make it so that like the first kid did, like, so everyone would get a chance. You know?
right. That's what I thought too.
Make it a little more fair. The kid who plays baseball every day doesn't just like beat the shit out of it. Yeah. Anyway.
All right, let's go into talk about this author.
Leopoldo Gout is a Mexican film director, producer, author, and painter whose work spans literature, television, film, and immersive art. So he basically does everything.
Yeah, he's just a monster artist. He also has good movie taste, which we'll get into later.
Nice. Born in Mexico City and trained at London's Central St. Martin's School of Art, Gout's creations have been exhibited in galleries and museums worldwide. As a novelist, he has penned critically acclaimed works including Genius, Ghost Radio, Monarca, and the award-winning Piñata. Through his imprint, Leopoldo & Co., he has championed new literary voices while continuing to push creative boundaries in his own writing.
Yeah, this guy is the real deal. Not like all these other fakers.
Yeah, all these other authors who pretend to write books.
This is how real he is. He has an underground studio in Lower Manhattan inside one of the largest wine cellars in New York. And for his book, Ghost Radio, Pedro Pascal voiced the audiobook.
Wow, that's cool.
So he's real. So he just paints and writes and has done some mini-series. I read about the movies and shows, but I never really care that much, so I forgot what they were already. But he has done some shows, I think it was, with James Patterson.
Oh, interesting. Cool.
Apparently learned a whole lot about publishing from him because, that guy just is non-stop working, so.
Yeah.
And has, 3 or 4 books, whatever we just said. So just an exceptional
multifaceted,
multidisciplinary artist is what I'm thinking. Now let's go talk about this book. I'll set a little bit of the scene because I did read a couple of interviews with him. So this book came out in 2023. Is that right?
Yeah, I think so.
And Gout was raised by his single mother and 2 older sisters. So that explains why his female characters in this book, I think, are just so well written. And also at the time of writing this book or thinking about this book, his daughter had turned 13. And he says he remembers the primal scream she let out when the unnameable president was elected.
Oh,
I'm not sure if this was the first or the second time.
I
Probably
would
the
assume
second time if it came out 2023.
Oh, well, but he had to write it. That takes more than.
I don't know. Yeah, true. I don't know.
Regardless, it shouldn't have happened once, much less twice.
But anyway, so since he was raised by a single mother and had two strong older sisters, and his daughter, and then thinking about colonization and just the deteriorating conditions of our country as the U.S. in combination with Mexico, and just all of that rage, and also his innate interest and fascination with Mexican history and culture all kind of came together for him to want to write this book.
Yeah, that makes sense.
To say, I don't want to imply with that this is a critique. This isn't really like a Trump America thing. That's definitely part of it. This is more about colonization, and specifically Spanish colonization. But it's all wrapped up in the Americas. Our histories are very much combined. So.
Yeah, and we still deal with colonization.
But it would be a very different book to be talking about, have the theme be the conflict between the U.S. and Mexico. This isn't that.
No, but one thing that I really liked about this book is that even though Carmen, the main character, is Mexican because she spent most of her life growing up in the United States, they even see her as, colonized, and or she's a tourist in their eyes, that she's not really Mexican.
Well, yeah, too Mexican for America and too American for Mexico, right?
Yeah, which I think is a problem that a lot of people have to deal with.
Let's get into the summary before we dig too much into the characters.
Okay, apparently we've got some things to say. We can't even get through the summary. That's impressive.
Yeah, that's going to be a good one. All right. So.
Oh, boy, you get to say all the fun words.
Oh, well, so here's the thing.
We should have a disclaimer.
I wrote a summary of the book, which I think is good and kind of funny, and I'll read it after this one that is now the new summary, because this was lifted from an interview where Gout summarized Piñata, and he does such a good job of it. I was like, I'll put my silly little thing at the end.
Also, I do want to have a disclaimer. So I can barely speak English, so speaking any kind of foreign language is already difficult. And then
you have a master's in German, and you can speak it pretty okay.
Okay, English is a Germanic language, so there's that. But it's also just, I don't know, my brain likes German. My brain looks at French and it freaks me out. Spanish, I feel like if I had learned it, I think I'd be pretty okay at it. But the languages in here are, at least some of the words are native language from, oh God, see, here I already go.
Nahua, right? Nahua and Aztec culture?
Nahua, yeah. So anyway, Nahuala is a native language from the Mexico region. And there are words in there, and I'm going to do my best to pronounce them or avoid them if I just feel like I'm butchering them. So, but I'm going to try. I listened to the audiobook and read the book because the audiobook is great, and they use all the real words, and the language is so cool to listen to. But when you add clicks in there and throat stuff, I cannot do that.
All right, let's get into it. What she's trying to say is we're a couple of white folk, and we're going to say some of these words wrong.
Yeah, so please just laugh at us. Don't be offended.
Yeah, I got some Spanish background. And when I say that, I mean I took Spanish in school for a few years and was an okay student. So anyway, onward and upward.
I grew up in California. That's all I got.
We have no excuse. Piñata is set in the modern day, following a Mexican-American architect, Carmen Sanchez, and her two daughters, Itzel and Luna, who accompany their mother to her hometown of Tulancingo on a job. Carmen has been hired to turn an old, disused missionary into a hotel and has taken the opportunity to bring her daughters to see the place where she grew up. Like any missionary in the Americas, the place has a dark history, whether people wish to acknowledge it or not. When a workplace accident nearly kills Luna and opens up a hidden room of the mission, this dark history is brought into the present. Two indigenous Nahua of the town attempt to warn everyone about what has been uncovered, but are dismissed as superstitious. However, they're right to be worried, as the gods of ancient pre-invasion Mexico, long buried beneath the churches and missionaries of the land, find a way back through Carmen's daughter. The family returns to New York after the accident. Carmen wants to forget about the whole thing, but the histories of where we come from aren't shaken so easily. Isn't that really good?
Yeah, it's funny though. Did he write this?
This was his answer in an interview. I don't know if he's really eloquent and he said that or wrote this answer.
But it's funny because it's actually using colonized language. A Mexican American isn't Mexico like right there, right? It's interesting.
Oh, I mean, but Mexican American.
I know.
For
But
clarity, right?
I'm just pointing out that.
And that's a big conversation with this, right?
Even in this, what he said, well, you kind of have to. That's just what it is, right?
Can I say
African American, Asian American, all implies the United States, but it's just an interesting thing that I noticed right off the bat.
Yeah.
So there you go. Colonized language. Middle East, colonized language.
Do you want to hear my summary? It's shorter.
Yes.
I think it's okay. A little girl.
That is short.
A little girl takes a piñata from the ancient ruins of a church in Mexico. It is a very bad idea, and when she takes it back home to New York with her family, things begin to spiral out of control. As a possession takes hold, grasshoppers jump scare the Sanchez. Grasshoppers jump scare the Sanchez family, and swarms of butterflies smash like hail against the windows. Will they be consumed by their vengeful ancestors, or is there hope to put things to rest and live peacefully again?
The grasshoppers are just pissed because Luna was eating them.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that. This girl takes like a fistful of candied grasshoppers and munches them down.
You'd try that.
I did eat candied candied crickets at a sushi restaurant where it sat, I think like 7 people or something. And it was what's it called when, like chef's choice, I guess? Maybe it's just that. There's a name for it, but they like made, 6 courses of various sushis for us and 3 or 4 other people. Like the whole bar was in it together, and it ended with candied grasshoppers. And it was funny because there was one big fat one that we were both kind of avoiding. And eventually my friend that I was with ate the big fat juicy grasshopper, and it was disgusting.
And then you took me and we got the shrimp heads with the eyes still attached.
Yeah. And they're like, yeah, eat the eyes. And
I was like,
why not?
I'm vegetarian. I eat fish sometimes. And that was intense. I think I ate about half of it, and then I under the table gave it to you to eat. Because I was like, I didn't want to be rude, but
it's just such like a curated thing. I mean, it's something you do once or twice in your life, right? That you don't want to dishonor this master chef by not eating the
omakase. It's omakase.
Is the name of the crickets?
No, is the
maybe it was grasshoppers.
Is the name of the restaurant
in Alameda? Did I ever take you? I don't think so. I just went once.
Wait.
Long waiting times, quite pricey.
Yeah, we went once. I just said how I ate the shrimp head.
Oh, right. So I've been twice.
Omakase. Sorry, it's not the name of the restaurant. Omakase is the chef's choice.
Oh, okay. Cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
Getting a little Japanese culture into
here
our
we
Mexican
go.
culture.
We're getting it all. We're the melting pot of the United States right here on this podcast.
Yeah, the melting pot. 2 white suburban people. Really mixing
butchering all the foreign languages we come in contact with.
Oh, man, we're having a good time. We haven't even gotten past the summary. Actually, we just did.
Oh, my God, the jump scare. That was a really good line.
Okay.
You got me on that one.
So I don't know if I would say many horror novels, but this does use the convention of opening up with a character's death, which sets the scene for the Spanish conquistadors coming in the 16th century, I think.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And, just like stomping all over their culture like colonizers do.
And committing genocide as colonizers do. I don't actually know really what to say.
Oh. Do you know why they're there? Because they're colonizers and that's what they do, and they Like,
Who's there?
Like, why is the Spanish there? Or is this like not
they're
a
looking
history
for
lesson?
gold. No, you just mean like general.
No.
Why did
you look
Columbus
up-
sail the ocean blue? He's looking for
No,
slaves.
do you know
and
why
gold.
they're in Mexico? Just because they're plundering and pillaging.
Yes,
and
they're
making missionaries and
so.
stuff.
And I believe, and I may not be 100% on this. This is from memory, but I believe that the Spanish, when they first invaded, I'll say Mexico, when they came in contact with the Aztecs, I believe they had a lot of gold in their attire. So they'd have like gold necklaces and whatnot, but it didn't have that same like crazy level of value that it did in Europe.
No, the Spanish were gold mad.
Which actually came back and bit them real hard. It really fucked up the Spanish. So this is what I know the other side of it, like once they got all the gold. But anyway, so they came to Mexico and everywhere in Central and South America and were just looking for gold and then would take people and make them slaves. So, you know, what white people do, they come and they find the resources and they take it. That's what they did. But one really cool point, I guess, it depends on how you want to...
How you define cool?
The spirits in this book would be happy to know that the Spanish economy just fucking disintegrated after they started getting serious amounts of gold from the Americas, because they just lived the high life, right? They didn't need to do anything. They just had gold coming from this faraway land. But once that started to dry up, they had no economy. They just had gold show up on their door, and so life was good. Once that went away, they had no structure. They had no, their economy was based on stealing from other people. Once they ran out, I want to say it took hundreds of years for the Spanish economy to recover.
Damn.
Which is pretty cool. If you're,
if you're an ancestor of
the people who were committed genocide against, yes.
Especially
definitely.
in this book, I could imagine the spirit here being like, yeah, down with the empire.
And can you imagine Yolti's like, yeah, but their economy.
But the economy. Also, the Spanish brought over the piñata. I don't believe they were lots of disease. Yes, they didn't come up with the piñata. That might have been like shit. I read it. It's like China or something. Fuck, I read it somewhere. But,
interesting. I didn't.
But I
that.
know that through ended up from the Spanish into Mexico, and what's so messed up that ties into the name of this book.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
That's what I read.
Fascinating.
And one of the things that they did.
Yeah, ancient Chinese tradition.
Oh, I got it right. Ding.
Huh. That's kind of like, man, China came up with piñatas and gunpowder. Go China.
I mean, their culture's all over. Okay, but who we're talking about? Japanese
Whoa,
culture.
hey, look at
Chinese
let's
culture.
quick say something
Mexican
in Chinese.
Sing Tao?
That's a beer, dude.
Oh, you put me on the spot. I don't know any Chinese.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wow.
If our child was here, he could say something. Anyway, sorry. Moving on. You were saying.
Okay, so here's what's so messed up with colonizers, especially when they bring a new religion with them, which often happens, right? Or maybe is always the case. I'm not sure. They needed to make sure that the native population would get rid of their pesky gods, right? Because these guys were the Nahuas. Maybe I'm saying that right. The Nahuas were worshiping, Aztec gods, and it was a shit. I always forget these words. What's when you believe in multiple gods? It's that kind of religion. Polytheism. There you go. It always comes. They're polytheistic,
yeah.
And that's no good when you're supposed to worship only one god.
But there is only one god, babe.
So with the piñata, what they did is the Nahua and or Aztecs.
So the Aztecs are part of the tree of the Nahua are like the regional area of people, and then the Aztecs were one culture under that.
Okay, should I say Nahua or
and
Aztecs for this book?
Either one.
Okay, so
I mean, if you do, well, I would say Nahua because Yoltzi and Fuck.
I wrote Quality.
Qualky.
And that's how they
Qualky.
identify as
Qualky.
Nahua. They don't think of
yes.
themselves as Aztec.
It's Qualky if you go by the audiobook.
Okay.
So all that you got to get in your throat.
But here's what's messed up. Because imagery and symbolism is so important to communication and religion, right? So what they did is within the Nahua culture, there was, a tradition of making clay pots, probably like beautiful artistic ones. I didn't look, but clay pot kind of stuff.
Probably just like
Or
boring,
just useful.
lazy.
Well, maybe they just need to hold some water.
Teasing. Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm sure they had
variety.
different pots for different things.
Yes.
Don't mix the dead with the water, please.
So they have this piñata, and as in this book, these piñatas, at least at this point, had 7 stars. If you look at it now, like a traditional 7-star piñata, it's like 7 birthday hats on a ball. Is my way of describing.
Wow.
Isn't that kind of what it looks like? And so each of these,
I would say it looks more like a flail.
It does look like a flail. So what they did is at this point they created these piñatas out of the clay pots, because then that like synergized with the Nahua culture and association with clay pots, and then they would like paint the Aztec gods on the piñata and have them like beat the piñata as a way to like banish their heathen gods and accept the one true God. The blindfold represents the blind faith in God. The stick is supposed to symbolize virtue and willpower overcoming temptation, where the fruit and candy symbolize the rewards of heaven or God's abundance. And as I had mentioned, the 7 points on the piñata represent pride, greed, lust, wrath, gluttony, envy, and sloth. This is also really interesting. The bright colors symbolize the temptations of evil. So it's like in this story they changed it a little bit. It was like beat these piñatas made with your like ancient pots that represent your gods.
Well, at the beginning, weren't they doing that as like a way to dehumanize?
Yeah, it was like smash. It's basically like smash their shit and make them smash it.
Mm-hmm. You like doing this
because you want to subjugate the natives, right? Because you don't want a native population who's prideful of their culture. You just want to erase them so you can take their resources and enslave them, right? So that gives a little bit more context with the piñata and what the Spaniards were doing in Mexico and how that informs the ancestral context and the vengeance that comes through in this book.
You're so smart.
Yeah, I thought that sounded good. As I was saying that, I was like, this sounds like something a teacher would say.
And you ruined it. Let's talk a little bit about the characters. A lot of the early portion of the book is character development and like setting building, but it reads kind of slow versus the latter half or so of the book.
Yeah, this book takes its time in a way that I really enjoyed.
Yeah, and what was really cool about the beginning was first we met Carmen and her 2 kids, Itzel and Luna. And Itzel is the older daughter. She's 16. Her mother, Carmen, named her used the Nahuali name, which she was very proud of. But she also was like, well, I got to make sure that it's something that people in the United States could understand and hopefully not totally butcher. But she calls herself Izzy because people spell her name wrong. They pronounce it wrong. I mean, we see that a lot. At least I see that a lot with like Irish names. It's like people just don't know how to. Your alphabet can be different, which doesn't help. But anyway, and then Luna is the younger daughter. She's 11, and she's like really excited.
Carol Ann.
So what?
She's Carol Ann from Poltergeist. Totally.
Oh yeah,
that's what I thought of. Right? Is she blonde?
Yes.
Okay. Not quite. Caroline
no.
A little younger.
Itzel looks whiter, and Luna is darker.
Oh, that's right. Okay, so not quite.
Because Luna's picked on at school.
I guess maybe I just inserted a white character. Look at this.
Well, you just mixed up the daughters, I think. But Luna is really smart. She's an artist. She is an encyclopedia. She loves to learn about stuff. So at the beginning of the book, Carmen takes her two daughters to Mexico for this architect job. And this is their first time going to Mexico.
And she's a single mother as well. So there's the
yes.
necessity of like, I have to go to a job site and you're coming with me.
So the three of them go down, and Itzel is like, I don't want to be here. I mean, granted, she's 16, so she wants to hang out with her friends and be absolutely as far away from her family as possible. I think she does a pretty good job of like being apologetic and stuff when she's gets her teenage angst. But Luna is like speaking Spanish, trying to learn as much as possible. She gets handfuls of crickets and eats them, and she's all excited. So it's a really good juxtaposition of the kids. Also, they look different. And at one point earlier on, Luna has a really cool conversation with Yoltzi. And Yoltzi is the Nahua woman who lives in Mexico. And they talk about Mexican culture. And it's really cool because if the book was fast paced throughout, there wouldn't be room for that, you know. But it also is really important to the book to be able to build up that knowledge base about the history, because for a number of reasons. One, it's just cool to explore culture in a book. Two, it's great for people like Dan and me who should know a hell of a lot more about Mexican culture than we do, because we grew up like, I don't know, 300 miles away from Mexico. Like we should probably know, but you know, whatever. American school system. This is not a political podcast. Anyway, so learn, you know, podcast. And learning stuff. It's really cool, and I think that he did a really good job of putting that kind of cultural explanation in the book throughout, but also like leaving stuff unexplained at times too. Like if you don't know this, go ahead, go research it. Like, you know, I'm not your encyclopedia, but also if you do know, then it gives a little boost of excitement for readers who understand. You know, I get excited when that happens for me.
Yeah, I definitely like this kind of horror novel. Again, I'll use Goo's words from one of his interviews. I grabbed a couple of quotes. Supernatural horror is driven by real historical horror. I've definitely heard that thinking before, and I would say, let's see. Okay, this book definitely exemplifies that. Crap, what's the other book? Was it The Reformed? The Reformatory?
The Reformatory, yeah.
Was another book. Go check out that episode. A little more explanation. He goes on to say that horror, like any genre, no matter how fantastical, has its roots in reality. So considering that, you could also describe Piñata as a decolonialist horror story or a historical horror story, since those are the roots from which supernatural horror grows.
No, nice. Yeah. And just horror in general.
And this is so fascinating. I don't know if I've said this on the podcast before. We've talked about it with this author as a Mexican American. One of the things I didn't mention is he found out as a kid, when he was already really interested in Mexican culture and history, that his father was connected to, I of course forgot the name of the tribe. I wrote it somewhere in the notes. But anyway, he found out that he had roots to an older tribe within Mexico, which made him very excited about that. And so that definitely informs this book as well. But what I was going to say here, it's using supernatural elements as a way to like reflect this violent history, right? Where a lot of the time with white authors that I've encountered doing supernatural, and I'm struggling with this too, is like the supernatural entities don't represent like real historical release for that. It's more like the madness of the cosmos. And I think it's really cool. It's not so much a criticism, but you know what I mean? Like there's definitely that difference between these are just scary monsters that make you go insane, and these are scary monsters that we're using as a metaphor to discuss like real, true history. You do know what I mean? I'm kind of generalizing.
It's one way to explore like generational trauma, for instance.
Yeah, and I'm totally generalizing too. I'm not saying like, oh, white authors just write boring cosmic horror. I love a lot of that stuff, but
it's just a different flavor.
Yeah,
there's room for both.
Yeah,
and there's a lot. I mean, depending on where you come from, there's a lot of different things to explore, right?
And there's a lot of family trauma too in white horror too. And maybe I'm stepping into a generalization field. I'm just talking about my experience.
From your experience, yeah. Oh, that's all we can talk about. Otherwise, we're extrapolating.
So let's go back to the characters. So we got Carmen and her 2 daughters.
Yeah, and there's this interesting bit when they first. I have a quote from the book I'd like to pull into this conversation because so Carmen was born in Mexico and then left, as I had mentioned, and like is kind of stuck in this in between of she's not Mexican enough. And honestly, though, there's no real on the other side of that when she's in the United States. It doesn't reflect, for her at least, that there's any issue. The only time that really comes up is mostly with Luna because she's being bullied by kids at school.
Oh, and those kids get it.
Yeah, they do. But this is an interesting thing how Carmen thinks about her time in Mexico. Carmen was acutely aware of the humming, imminent danger that lurked in the background for a woman and 2 girls in a foreign land. She knew Hidalgo was one of the safer states in Mexico, but living in America for so long had unavoidably altered her perception of the country. And then it goes on a little later. Pictures of women and girls pulled from their social media pages and family photo albums, stapled or taped among the cacophony of ads. 8.5 by 11-inch pleas for help stapled to every telephone pole. Appeals to God glued to electrical boxes. Appeals to the authorities were long abandoned. So she's coming into a place where she feels like a foreigner with her 2 daughters and sees like just women missing. So then it brings in the whole idea again of like Native women disappearing and stuff too. So there's just so many layers to this.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting too how she's Mexican American and grew up in Mexico, right? She was born in Mexico.
Yeah.
But
I don't know how old. I don't remember if it says how old she is when she moves to the States, but
it's interesting that she is also affected by the caricatures of Mexican culture in the U.S. And of course she would be, but I remember when I was younger having that epiphany, right? I feel like that's kind of a coming of age thing where you realize that people of a culture are also affected by the images of their culture. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So she has to tell herself like, okay, some of this stuff is real. There is an issue with women being kidnapped and raped and disappearing, right? But that's also not the Mexican story.
It also happens in the States.
Right.
But when they're in Mexico, she like is really, really freaked out and like stay inside, keep the doors locked, don't even go in the backyard. It feels like close the blinds and don't respond if someone.
But she also wants
doors.
Her daughters to be there to experience.
Yeah,
I mean, when she's not working, it's like we can walk around.
Yeah, but it's intense. I mean, but I feel like I would. I mean, my kid's not even 11 yet, but just being a young kid in any foreign place, in any place in general, I guess you can have that anxiety. An unfamiliar place, I guess you could say. But she like goes to town on her anxiety. It's really interesting because of who she is and her, and then meanwhile they go back to the States and at some point she has to leave Luna home alone because she has to go to work. It's like Giselle isn't even there. And it's like, wait, what? That's so completely opposite. So that's such an interesting conversation in and of itself within Carmen.
Yeah, I feel like one of my favorite things about this book is, especially in the beginning, is they're really establishing the characters in the setting. I feel like this book could work if you took the supernatural elements out. Obviously, that would make it a completely different story, especially toward the end. But the characters and their backstories, and especially Carmen's anxiety as a single mother who's working on this job site, there are so many layers to her anxiety as both a mother, as a woman who's working on this job site, as someone who's working on turning a church into a hotel, and what the church signifies when you think about the violence and the history of that. So it's like modern history on top of the church history on top of bloody ground, right? And plus she's a single mom working and has concerns about her daughter's development and her job, and there's just so much depth to her character as a mother and as a worker here that
and just the sexism at the workplace.
And it's great because I feel like a lot of in the moments of sexism or some of the moments of racism, they're pretty underplayed in a way that works well. I don't know, that feels more realistic.
Yeah, but it's also it's a mix between her quote unquote foreignism. They're like, oh, the American's coming down, and she's like, actually, I'm Mexican. But then also to be a woman. It's like a double whammy, right? Like they're like, oh, can you understand me, lady? That kind of
Yeah.
thing. Well, not everyone by any means, but she definitely feels that pressure at her job site.
So the huge inciting incident that we had talked about before is when they're on the job site and a scaffolding falls right and breaks open a room of the church which they were not aware of.
It's like Indiana Jones.
And that's where the piñata is. And I love how Luna just is like, I'm just gonna go in there, take that piñata.
I almost wonder if it was like calling to her, like a trance state kind of thing.
Yeah.
She seemed almost like
mesmerized by it.
Hypnotized. Yeah, mesmerized. Mm-hmm. But also she's so like explorative. Is that even a word?
I'm just curious.
Yeah, she just like has that interest.
She's like intellectually curious and is tactile. Like just wants to consume and be immersed in everything.
And then her mom's like freaking out because they're not even supposed to be there. They just showed up. They're like, oh, we'll walk over there. And she's like, you're not supposed to leave the house. And she like freaks out, has this episode outside of the church looking for them. And so even before they find the piñata, they're seeing stuff in a sense. There's like weird events, like time is being lost, right? Because when she goes to find the kids, she's like, so much time passed. They're not coming. They're not showing up. She calls Itzel like 20 times on her phone and she's not answering. And then she sees this old woman. She snaps out of it. And then she sees the girls and she's like, Itzel, I called you so many times. And she's like, no, you didn't. You have the call that we just had before. And then you just called me now. And it was like 2 minutes later. So you already, before we even see the piñata, are seeing like the, I don't know, vibe change. So I could see that Luna would be.
There's a vibe change in here on this work site.
A little awkward, man.
Yeah.
It's like creepy old ladies with their faces falling off just in the street.
Yeah, there's lots of
Mexico's
faces
weird,
away.
man. They have hordes of butterflies.
I think a face peeled away from the skull at least 4 or 5 times.
Yeah. And wasn't one of them Luna at one point?
Yeah,
So
in a
cool.
dream. Oh, speaking of dreams, it's crazy. There's probably like 4 or 5 chapters where it ends with Carmen going to sleep. It made me a little sleepy too. It's like, and then she fell into bed. I think I'll take a nap.
Oh, it's so not hard to tempt you into sleeping.
How does he do with the female characters since you too are a female?
I am of the breed of female. Good. I didn't really focus too heavily on that, which is interesting because, like Luna gets her period. Like there's definitely heavily a female voice being explored here.
I can interject a quote there. Or should I hold it?
Just let me finish the sentence. But I think he does at least a good enough job that it didn't bother me, but it didn't like, you know what I'm trying to say? Like, it's not like I was annoyed being like, oh my God, this is clearly written by a man. So I think he did a good job.
All right, check this out. The deities in this book are specifically, this starts talking about how also the villains are female. Or the possessor.
Oof, the hardest word to say.
So Gout says the deities in this book are specifically female gods. It is at its core a book dealing with the history of Mexico and its colonization. The horror of the book is pulled from that real historical horror, a horror which affected and continues to affect women. I chose a predominantly female cast of main characters as a way of communicating that particularly feminine rage.
Yeah, and he did a really good job. So it's the Titsamik. Okay, never mind. Yeah, so the gods, the Titsamito. Oh wow, yeah, fucking hell! I can't just let it. I can't just let it happen. Titsamik. That's what it is. The Titsamik are the deity, and it's a big word. But yeah, they're all female. All the deities that are the Titsamik.
I think he did a really good job of creating all of these characters. And really what it comes down to, of course I'm simplifying like I always do, but he just gives them like rich inner lives, right?
I really liked Yultzi. I really enjoyed how she comes across to Carmen at first like someone who's just there to bribe her, which also says, a lot about the different expectations of cultures. But how she's like, no, I just want to tell you your family's in danger.
Yeah, it's great because Yultzi sees, like goes into the spirit vision and sees that
as like a normal thing. This isn't like just now happening, right? Like
yeah. But she sees that there's a demon or whatever terminology you want to use interested in this little girl, Luna.
And so she goes and tries to tell Carmen, and Carmen's like, I'm not going to take your bribe, or I'm not bribing you. She's like, wait, what?
Another tricky thing with supernatural horror stories that happened in this a few times is there's a lot of times where a character just goes like, you know what I mean? Like they go into the spiral otherworld where they're just like kind of out while they have a supernatural scene, and then they kind of stumble back.
Yeah.
It feels very Catholic.
Oh my God. And then you wonder too, like, I think he explains it in a way that indicates that like time has not passed. It's all in their head, but like within an instant might be like minutes. So I don't think they're like standing there just like staring, like drooling, like
That's what I
think people would start to notice if this person was like having episodes like out of whack, like waving their hand.
I mean, that happens
in
in here a couple times as things intensify, and like I don't know, there's a couple scenes where Itzel or Luna are like screaming. I think Itzel was having a pretty bad vision, and Carmen's like, "It's cool, I'm your mom. You're fine."
Yeah. Oh,
another book I should mention that this reminds me of because I said the Reformatory is The Only Good Indians. Also very inspired by Ancestry and
Ghosts of the Past.
Yeah, Ghosts of the Past. I will also let you know that The Exorcist influenced Gu in the writing of this novel. That won't surprise you at all.
No.
As well as the atmospheric horror of Hereditary, one of my favorite horror movies.
Yes, so good.
And its focus on inheritance. He also loved The Witch and is inspired by all things Jordan Peele. So
that's cool.
At least in that moment of time, we have a lot of similar movie
a lot of similar tastes there. Yeah. That's cool.
How did you think this? I don't want to say ranks because I don't know if you're a possession connoisseur, but like in terms of
I find myself possessed once in a while.
In terms of a possession story, how do you think it worked out?
I enjoyed it. I loved the scenes when Luna's in her room with the door closed and they just hear like blah, 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 through the door. And they're just like, I'm gonna leave that alone. Like she's a tween. She needs her space, It's just like I think at one point, actually I know at one point Carmen is walking past Luna's room and she's like, Luna, you all right? And then she hears like another person's voice, and within that person's voice they call her like a fucking puta or whatever.
Oh yeah, that's right. It's kind of like American Psycho with Bateman. How he was like talking to the bartender and he's like, I'm gonna fucking cut your throat.
Yes, yeah. Except mom heard it and she's like, excuse me, and she like goes into her room. She's like, what did you just say to me? She's like, nothing, mom, I was sleeping. It's like, oh my God. So like those kind of moments are just great. Also, I love the part when Father Verone comes to the United States. So Father Verone is, I don't know the terminology, the parish leader of this mission that they're turning into the hotel. And he's a Catholic priest. And he tries to help them once he figures out something's wrong with Luna. He's actually a pretty cool character because he tries to help and is willing to look past his religion and look for help outside of that. And he also is one of the characters that we learn more about Spanish colonization and the horrible things that the Catholics did to native peoples. And he's like, fuck, like, well, I'll keep my religion, but sometimes the people who, put it together aren't the best.
We've done some pretty shady shit in the back.
Yeah, in the name of God, but I still believe in him. But he figures out that these are Aztecian gods and comes to New York to try to help. He's like, well, I can do an exorcism. It's going to be a Catholic one, but maybe it'll help. But he gets there and he has an episode, a possession episode, and it's really
it's
sad
really-
ending, but it's actually really hilarious because like this guy's like knocking on the door and he's like, it's fine, I'm everything's okay. Get the fuck away, you bitch. You know, like he's just like yelling obscenities at this. I actually have a quote. He says, "Our Father who art in, step back, you bitch. You can't hurt me. Heaven, hallowed be thy name. Damn monstrosity. Go back to your tomb, you pile of bones. Thy kingdom come." And so it's just hilarious.
Oh, that's right, because he's like shit talking the demon and doing
the Lord's Prayer. And then people are like the hotel person's like, you have to open the door. And he's like, I can't. Verone yelled, you're not real. You're not here. Pray for us, doting mother, and die, you fucking corpse whore. It's just such a good scene.
Just imagining being the hotel worker on the other side of that.
And then the cops come, but you know, it's the United States. So
Yeah,
we know how that ends.
Yeah, he's a good character, and I was surprised by that end. I was like, damn.
But also not, because he's in the United States. But and speaking of like tackling so many things, right? We've got a trigger happy cop. And we have a border crossing. I forgot that part was in the book.
It goes by pretty quick. I mean, not quick,
read this. But... Yeah, I read this in 2020. It came out in 23. I read it in 24.
It's like a chapter or two.
Long ago. Yeah, but I was like, how did I forget? And then once I read it, I was like, oh yeah, I remember this part. But I mean, he tackles everything.
And they get captured by a
quote
gang
unquote,
or by a cartel.
Yeah,
it happens pretty quick, but it's just like, and then they're out of supplies.
Yeah.
and then it's just Yoltzi.
And there's a shootout. And, well, she's with Clockley. That's when he dies, right?
Yeah.
Because he gets shot. Yeah. And it's such a sad ending for a cool character. But, yeah, it's just like, what isn't going to happen in this book? Which is really fun. Going back to your initial question, I think he did a really good job with the possession. And I like how it's really Luna, but we don't really see it from her perspective terribly often. It's more like from Carmen's, I felt at least. And like when she goes up on the roof and is smoking a joint and is attacked by butterflies. What do you think? How did he do in your ranking of?
I really liked it. I mean, as I had mentioned, I think even barring the supernatural elements, the characters and the story and the layers are so deep in this book that
I was specifically talking about possession.
Oh yeah. I asked you, what did you think of the possession? And then I just took that part out. Okay.
I mean, it's
fair
fine.
enough. I liked it. I mean, I love supernatural elements. I think here too, when it's the vengeance of ancestors connected to the family and talking about different cultures and people who have a foot in both cultures and how that is informed by the history of their various connections and all that kind of stuff, adds a lot of depth to the supernatural element.
Yeah.
That I think is better than, I don't know, as an example, sometimes there might be a spirit who's vengeful because they were murdered or something, which is this, but I don't know, like there's a lot more depth. I guess you could say it has those supernatural tropes, but there's so much depth and layers to them that they feel like it's bigger than the sum of its parts. Occasionally it was clunky, but I felt like that was in ways of possession tropes in terms of the like having visions. And like you said, it maybe makes more sense if the vision in real time probably only lasted 20 seconds. Whatever.
Well, I'm assuming that because of that scene I was talking about with Luna and Itzel coming to the church, because she was like calling them multiple times, running around, and they're like, we were just on, like actually they did have to go home again, but anyway.
Another thing is I thought about your criticism of the fisherman a little bit and what I had talked about in The Devil by Name.
Which was
the fisherman's a little more convoluted, but you know how in the fisherman they have the middle story and that ends, and then
the book within a book.
Yeah, then you have the same encounter, but in the modern times, so you kind of knew. And I talk about in Devil by Name by Keith Rawson too, really good book, but
No,
you also
by Keith Rawson. He didn't write The Fisherman.
oops.
Fisherman was John Langan.
The Devil by in
the way you said that, he made it sound like he wrote both of them.
Oh no, John Langan wrote The Fisherman, and also with Devil by Name, you have a character who's like slowly becoming the devil, and here you have Luna, who's slowly becoming more and more possessed, and the possession is taking bigger hold, and a lot of the fun is seeing the evolution of that possession. But in terms of mystery, there is none, because you're just along for the ride of this is going to get worse. And you know it's going to get worse. And it does get worse. And it's all done really well.
Well, we know she has the piñata. And
But I think that, that's one of those things. It's not even necessarily a weakness, but it is one of the things that you have to balance in a possession story, because from the beginning a character is going to be possessed and it's going to worsen. And so there's part of the experience of reading that of like, I know where this is going. But these are all minor criticisms, more criticisms of the genre than this book itself. I think overall, I can see why you wanted me to read this book for the past year or two or however long it's been.
Yeah.
It's really good.
And the ending fits the trope well. I think that because, either she's going to get cured or she's going to die or become the thing, right? Well, I guess, okay, you're going to die, you're going to be freed from the spirits, or you're going to be fully possessed and basically die, right? So generally that's not a whole, I guess that's true with the slasher too, right? You're either going to live or you're going to die. So there's not like there's many options to go from, but I liked how this one ended.
Yeah, it was good. The whole way that it funneled toward the end is, I think the pacing is just great in this book.
Yeah, and the end, it was a little bit like, it reminded me of the film I'm Not Your Mother, the Irish movie.
I Am Not Your Mother.
I Am Not Your Mother.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I see that.
But with the piñata instead of the person. I have a quote from the very end that I thought, we've already pretty much talked about the ideas behind it, but I just really liked how he ended the book with Yoltzi. So this is from Yoltzi's perspective. This is after they've completed the exorcism in a sense. Now, looking down at the face of her people's apocalypse, a real manifestation of a culture lost and buried by violence and conquest, she saw the unconscious terror her people had felt centuries ago, the pain of erasure, the fury born from helplessness, and the grief of so much loss has twisted this powerful goddess, this woman warrior, into a demon of revenge. Yoltzi sang to it as her grandmother had sung to her. So cool, because the spirit is like, don't you want revenge? And Yoltzi's like, these aren't even the people who did this to us,
Yeah.
You can't just take revenge on random people. I mean, I guess you can, and people do, or goddesses do in this case.
It's not going to solve anything.
Yeah. But it's also a valid anger, right? But what do you do with that anger? How do you move on? And I think what's cool in that sense is we see the Tzimek wants to do damage and Yoltzi wants to find peace, right? So that's it. I liked it. I liked how he brought in that generational trauma and gave voice and recognition to that pain, and the grief and the tragedy, but also was like, well, we shouldn't succumb to it.
Yeah, and done well too, because that's another thing that I feel like it can get hokey when you're like, and then the ancestors came and freed them.
And then we danced in a circle and we're happy.
Yeah, it's not like that at all.
All past atrocities have been forgiven.
Yeah. It's done really well, and it's a tricky balance.
Yeah, and I think that's part of, you don't let it win, but you still bring up like, yes, this is an important thing to discuss and not forget about or teach people about, right? Like, yes, I do generally know some of this history just because of where I grew up, but obviously I learned a lot. I learned some Nawali, not very well, but I learned some. I learned piñatas are from China. I had no idea. I enjoyed it a lot.
What have you been reading?
I have a couple of books under my belt from this short window of time. It was more like I had been reading them and I finished them, but I So my horror book that I read was Those Across the River by Christopher Buehlman. He wrote Between Two Fires, which I'm tempted to have us read at some point.
Oh, we should. I only hear good things about it. But in season 3.
Yeah. So this one is about a man who is a university professor who fought in World War One. So he comes back home, becomes a university professor. He marries a woman who had previously been married, and she gets a divorce to be with him, and it ruins his career. So they end up having to leave, and he inherits this house from his aunt down in, I think it was Louisiana. And they move into this home, even though she's like, just sell it. Do not move into it. And he does. And he wants to write a book about his ancestor, who was a slave owning Confederate general. I don't know if he was a general, but he was pretty high up in like the Confederate army. And after the war, he kept his slaves and like he fought off the authorities kind of thing. So he wants to write this book about it. And bad things happen in the woods.
Bad Things Happen in the Woods should just be the name of a book. Seems like a meme book you'd see at Barnes and Noble.
Yeah, right. Well, I don't want to go too far into it because I don't want to give stuff away, but I enjoyed it. I think I liked Between Two Fires more. I was really excited to read this one because I was also editing a Civil War novel, and I love Civil War history. I wouldn't call myself a buff, but I definitely know bits about it, and I love studying World War One. I guess I have a thing for war.
You have always had a thing for war.
Yeah, but anyway, that wasn't really touched on a whole lot. The World War One aspect, it does sometimes. He has like visions and stuff, but yeah, I enjoyed it. I did. I think reading it after a book that I loved by him, it wasn't quite as good in my opinion, or I just wasn't in the right state of mind for that book at that time. Anyway, I also very quickly listened to One Day Everyone Will Have Been Against This by
I've looked at that book
Omar
curiously.
Akkad. Yeah, it was really good. It was really depressing. It's like makes you hate everything.
It's like a couple years old, right? 1 or 2, maybe?
Yeah, and it's talking about Palestine generally and Israel and stuff, and the genocide that's happening over there. Speaking of genocides, really depressing and very, very true. People are like, oh, Israel, but in 100 years, maybe people will be like, wow, that was pretty fucked up. It seems like more and more people are headed that way though, which is good. And then to top it off, I read a graphic novel called They Called Us Enemy by George Takei. He was Sulu in Star Trek, the original series, and he grew up when he was a kid. He was put in Japanese internment camp. He was living in LA with his parents, and so this was a graphic novel about that experience. I don't know.
You just went straight for ancestral trauma.
I am in a place. It was so.
You doing okay?
Not really. I think the month of Psycho really got deep into my core. But that one, the library recommended it. I was just flipping through my Libby app, and it was like, you should read this. And I'm like, oh, I loved George Takei, and the art was really pretty. I didn't write down the people who worked on it because I'm a horrible person. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I recommended it. I read it in like 1.5 sitting. So I guess that's 2 sittings on the iPad. And it was really pretty. And
I saw you reading it. You don't read comics often,
I don't. But I enjoyed that. And I've actually been to, I think by myself, I was going, I think, from California to Utah or Nevada, something like that. And I went to one of the locations of one of the internment camps. It's basically just a guard tower now. There's like nothing there, and maybe a plaque. We didn't really do a whole lot as we should have with that.
I think I did the same thing, like just saw a tower and a plaque, and then
maybe we were together, or
maybe
I feel like I've been there twice, so maybe I went by myself and then took you. I don't know. Regardless, he was sent cross country though. He was like in Kentucky or something. It was crazy. What a weird, fucked up thing we did yet again, just because the way they look. So yeah, that's my fucked up reading list. What about you? What'd you read?
Jesus. Mine's much shorter.
Follow that up, bitch.
I don't really. I just have an X under what Dan has been reading.
Oh,
I read a lot when we were finishing up American Psycho. That's when I went through a Junji Ito spree, and that was a lot of fun. And it's only been like a week.
I know,
1 week
yeah.
since American Psycho. So I've read Piñata, and I've read other stuff, but it's kind of been like pieces here and there, and I don't want to keep talking about the same books over and over. So as I get further along those books, I'll talk
Well, it
about
was your
them.
birthday. You got books for your birthday.
I did. I got I forgot the name of it, but another book on 90s era Bay Area punk rock, which is great.
I forgot the name of it too, and I bought it for you.
Yeah, I don't know. The story
it
of
was a
Bad Religion,
in-person
Green Day,
purchase.
or whatever. Even though Bad Religion's Los Angeles, I already failed. But anyway.
No, they talk, and No Effects. They talk about
Oh,
it.
okay,
It's not
maybe-
just the Bay Area. I think
Oh,
it's
it's
just like California.
Okay. Which is good because I'm reading a lot of stuff about punk rockers and punk rock history in California specifically. And yeah, so
And
I don't
then
know.
your Hail Mary book.
Oh, Hale Murray.
Murray. Oops.
There was this photographer in East Bay punk rock scene. I forgot something Murray. There was a really good podcast episode about him by East Bay yesterday. But anyway, yeah, it's a photographer who just took a bunch of photos at punk shows.
Wow.
Um,
Who would have thought?
Yeah, at like a specifically, I think it's like Bay Area late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah, I flipped through and it was like 98 through 2000 something.
So a lot of bands, a lot of people that I'm familiar with, a lot that I don't know, a lot of venues that I've been to, a lot I haven't. It's just like, I mean, it's, I don't know, it looks like it's 300 pages of photos, something like that. I mean, it's cool. He was
Do
really.
you think there could be the Pound in there? Did they ever
Possibly.
have punk shows there?
I went to punk shows there in the early 2000s.
Oh, maybe I want to see then.
And just really good pictures. He was just really good action photographer and was supposedly great at just, like, because they're at punk shows and he was excited about the music too. He was in the audience a lot. So a lot of his shots are just over the head, black and white photography, but he was just really good at capturing like the energy of it
so much.
Yeah, I'm excited
I
to.
used to bring my camera to shows.
Yeah, I'm excited to flip through that one.
Nowhere near that quality.
Yeah, but besides that, no, I haven't really. And then I don't even know. We got a chunky book coming up. Let's talk about what's coming up next, and then you'll see all this reading shenanigans we
Yeah,
got going
I've started our next one. I'm enjoying it a lot so far.
Yeah, that's right. So we 2 weeks from this episode, we will be talking about The Starving Saints by local author, local to us, Portland, Caitlin Starling. And we saw her talk about this book a year ago,
Yeah,
last summer.
fall. Yeah,
Last fall, okay.
and her paperback, I can't remember if it has or is about to come out. It's like it's either came out last week or is coming out this week or something. So it's now available in paperback. But yeah, we saw her at our local horror bookshop, Midslumber Media. She was talking with Wendy Wagner, who is up. Her book wasn't even out yet. The Girl in the Creek. She was in conversation with Caitlin about The Starving Saints, talking about her book, The Girl in the Creek, which The Girl in the Creek is up for a Stoker Award for
look at that
Best
connection.
Novel. So it'd be really cool if we could have our local author win that.
Oh, that would be cool. After The Starving Saints, we got another big one. This is, I don't know, 354, 400 pages.
What have we done?
Little Heaven by Nick Cutter, an author I haven't read, but who I really want to read. And it's kind of a big, chunky book. But hopefully it's going to be really good. It's like detectives go to investigate an occult. That sounds cool. I'm in.
Well, I've already tried to request it at the library, and there's a wait. So
Okay.
that is usually a good sign that it is either brand new or a very good book. And it's not brand new, so that would indicate.
I think I
it's
said to
not
go
bad.
investigate an occult. Anyway, you know what I mean. And then followed by Knock Knock Open Wide by Neil Sharpson on June 16th, Bloomsday.
So
And
we
then
have
one
another
more
Irish
after
book.
that.
One last book.
Head Full of Ghosts. I'm giving you a little sneak peek.
Yeah,
Head Full of
by
Ghosts
Paul
by Paul Tremblay. And that will conclude season 2.
So after Little Heaven, we will, I guess we're going to be celebrating Bloomsday, talking about that, talking about the book, and we are going to talk probably a little bit about StokerCon.
Yeah. We got exciting stuff coming up. Feel free to reach out to us. Our email's in the show notes. Let us know what you think about the other books we're reading section, because I really like talking about that. But we've had conversations about whether or not we should move that to like their own shorter little episodes, so that these episodes can really just be focused on what we're reading and what's coming up. I don't really know. I think it's nice to have a little extra conversation.
I mean, I would have talked longer about those across the river, but there's also the part of me that doesn't want to give away stuff if you're not anticipating to hear about that book versus if it's its own little blurb.
Yeah, and last week for American Psycho, I kind of wanted to dig into Junji Ito, but it feels like after talking about the episode book for a long time, I don't want to, take up too much time.
Drag on.
Yeah, reach out to us. Let us know if you have any opinions, or just keep listening.
Oh, I'm sure they have opinions, my love.
Yeah, this fucking guy. Thanks for listening. We will see you in 2 weeks for The Starving Saints. Until then.
Well, if you've made it this far, then we didn't scare you off. Thanks for listening to Dusk to Dawn, reading horror and weird fiction.
Please rate our podcast, and if you like, follow us on Instagram at Dusk to Dawn Podcast, which is also our Gmail address. Tell us what you liked or didn't like about the show, and let us know if you have any book suggestions. See you next time. Bye.
Bye.